Hey everybody, welcome back to the Gamers Lounge podcast. My name is John Meadows. With me as always is Nathaniel and Dennis. What's going on, fellas?
Hello.
Hello.
What's going on, fellas?
Hello.
Hello.
Just enjoying life, taking life day by day, John.
Trying not to melt. Trying not to melt, right?
Try not to melt. Yeah, try not to
mean-
melt. But it's going to be worse when I end up, going back to Arizona and have to be in 115-degree weather.
Well,
So,
it was almost that
yeah,
today
so-
with humidity. So.
That is very true. That is very true. So honestly, really, when you think about it, maybe not that much different. If anything, I'm ready.
Well, yeah.
So-
I mean,
Did
you're preparing
mow
yourself.
my lawn today, so I did not avoid the
Ugh.
heat today.
Ooh.
I did it earlier in the morning,
Well,
though,
that's
like
good.
partway through the morning, so the dew would be slightly more evaporated. But because of
Yeah.
how humid it is like the dew is going to be there
Yeah,
most of the
it's
day.
just
So it's
very
just
nice.
like, nope. I'd rather do it now before it hits 90.
That's just why I pay a guy. I just.
Oh, that's why you see a lot of like housework and stuff like that done like really early in the morning.
Yeah.
It's just so they can beat that heat by the time noon rolls around. People are doing scheduling stuff at like 5, 6 in the morning usually to like do roofing or whatever. So
Yeah, that's why when I had time to do yard work, I would always try to do it as early as I could and
Yep.
then get it over with, and then take a shower and then lay in the floor in the living room and just be like, oh,
backs hurting,
Yeah.
just
I'm tired and old. But I'm honest to gosh, I just don't have time anymore. So it's just like, going 5 days a week and then you come home for 2 days. It's just like you can't get everything done in 2 days. So it's just like, I'll pay a guy. There's a guy though, so I'll pay him. So, it is what it is. It's fine. Exercise is important though, but just get your exercise.
You exercise your gas pedal foot.
Yes, I do. My gas pedal foot and my left leg just moving back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. But I highly recommend stopping every 2 hours on a long drive and at least getting out and walking around your car 3 times because you don't want to get a blood clot. It's very,
That would not be good.
very
Yeah.
important. It's very important to keep circulation one way or the other. So,
well,
so there's my healthy tip for the day. Get out of your car and walk around it every once in a while. But we'll start out like we always do with what we've been playing. You guys have been playing a whole lot more than I have because I haven't had time. But all 3 of us the other day did play Sea of Thieves together.
yes.
And me and Nathaniel played together the next night. What did we even do? We didn't do nothing but treasure hunting, did we? Oh, we did a vault. That's what we did. All 3 of us did a vault that night.
Yeah.
The ball was fun.
Yeah, and then afterwards I found out that there was like other things that we could have done that we didn't do that was in the vault. And
There always is. If you've ever done one, there's always like the little secret nooks and crannies you don't know
Yeah.
about. So it's like, whatever, do it next time.
if I'd have jumped up another level, all the good treasure was up top. But it's fine. There was a hidden thing behind a door that you had I didn't know it was there, but it's no big
Doesn't
deal.
matter because all that treasure was good treasure for a beginning player like me. The first time you log in, get all that. Like, yes,
Absolutely.
I've got all sorts of stuff turned
Yeah.
in, lots of gold.
And plus, it was double XP weekend, so it was
Yeah,
like
man.
your first day. It was like I'm already at 24, or it's like holy crap, I'm at 54, and I've been playing
Yeah.
for a lot longer. It's like, geez, Louise, the bonuses was crazy.
That one when we had pretty much finished all the tasks and we were trying to open up that one vault and we were just trying to find, like, it was so ridiculous, that little like thing that we tried to put the little figure on like the pedestal and we couldn't find it, and it was like
Yeah.
right there blended into the rocks.
Yeah,
the
we walked
entire
by it
time.
like 7 times. It was-
So many times. Yeah.
And then finally,
Ridiculous.
it's bad when we walk by it so many times and I get aggravated and I look it up online to see where it's at. It's like, okay, I'm getting angry.
Yeah.
It's literally right next to your foot, John.
Yeah, and it was. All I had to do was look down and I went, oh, there it is. Jeez, I only walked by that a half dozen times and stood here for 5 minutes right in front of it, and it never popped up for me.
It was funny because I was like right in front of you, and then like because I saw you like I could hear you looking it up, and then like you were like oh, it's right here, and I turn around and literally you just go and then put it in. And that's it. It's literally right in front of you the whole time.
I only have a 65-inch TV. It's like you would have thought that I could have seen that. I mean, it was
Yeah.
bigger than life anyway, so I should have been able to see
4K,
that
120 hertz, but that will not help you here.
Yeah, no, it did not help me find that at all. It was like, jeez. I tell you what, though, I did finish the novel, the audiobook,
I listened to the first chapter of that actually when you
It's
sent it to me.
very interesting because the
Yeah.
way the story goes is one chapter is a person in the game right now, and the next chapter is usually a person in the game like 20 years ago. So it sets up, eventually it's all going to merge because they keep going
Yeah.
from one person to another person each chapter.
Yeah.
But what's funny is you got one of the grog cases today, Nathaniel. You said.
The grog barrel, whatever, the 1,000 grogs. Yeah, I forget the name of it. But I was just on a random beach doing something else, and I was trying to dig up another thing that was half buried, but I misplaced my shovel, and I was like, "Clank! Wait, what is this?"
Yeah.
Oh, okay, sure, I'll take that.
See, I got one of those, and the money you get from them is great. And I've also gotten a weeping chest. In that book, it explains both of those things, what those are, how they came to be, why they are the way they are, and
there's some sort of curse that was put on them. Sure, there you go. But the book lets you do a lot more detail than that.
The book does a whole lot more detail because it's all made of metal from the mer people, and it was because this one captain wanted to keep people from doing this, and it goes into how the gold hoarders came to be, and it's a real interesting book. It's not very long. I think the audiobook was only like 10 hours. And I don't know if it's still on the Google Play Store or not, but I sent the link to Dennis. It was 99 cents on the...
Yeah, it was 99 cents. I didn't actually end up buying it because I noticed that actually from the official Sea of Thieves page, they have the whole audiobook for free on their YouTube, like on YouTube. So that's where I listened to the first chapter, just had it on in the background, and it was like super interesting. And like they really set the mood for those audiobooks too, because they have like the sound effects, and you hear the sea in the background, the music,
and
the narration was fantastic. Also, like I was like, oh my god, this sounds like authentic. Like is this real? Was this real? Is this? I think Sea of Thieves is nonfiction. Actually, this might be this might be for real.
Like you just turn the right corner somewhere in the Bermuda Triangle and end up in the cartoon ocean.
Yeah,
that's right. Hey, beautiful water though. I will not complain. Gorgeous water. So.
But it's just funny how they explain why the map is the size it is, because the Devil's Shroud is on the outside, and this is actually, you don't know if you're going to another world or how it's.
You get a little bit of that in the game, like from the intro mission and stuff. If you dig into all of that and read all the little like journal things from whatever, I forget his name, but the pirate captain who's on that
Lord Ramsey.
Yeah, on that main little like intro maiden voyage thing, there's some lore there for setup.
And that's who the whole book's about, is about Ramsey. Is half the book's about Ramsey and the other half's about whatever the girl's name is. I don't even remember now. But yeah, it was. I finished it up the other day. It's what happens when you're in a car for 4 hours. It was real interesting, and it just makes me want to play the game more, because now it's like, oh, so that's part of the game. I want to see that. I want to play that. I want to. But yeah, so that's literally the only thing I've had a chance to play.
It's interesting how much lore they pack into this game, yet when you play it, they just kind of drop you in, and the story isn't really, it's used more for flavoring than anything else, because you can just play the game and not know a lick of anything, because like because they even have Sea of Thieves comic books, and I've read the first few issues. I haven't read all of them, but I've read like the first few issues, and those were like really good also. Like for anyone who loves comics.
They're all free on Kindle too. So on the Comixology, so you can read them for free, because if you have an Amazon Prime account, they're part of your Amazon Prime. I downloaded all those to read next. So
they're great. They're great. I read like the first 5 or 6 issues, and they're like genuinely like awesome. Like they're a ton of fun. And but it's weird to me how like you play the game and it's pure gameplay, which is not a bad thing, because I mean they do it really well.
Some of it is. They have their tales that you can play that are story stuff, but the like just free explore kind of whatever mode he has. It's just here, go. This is a sandbox. Well, a water sandbox, but
exactly.
And I think that's what makes that game great, is because if you want story, there's story there. You can play it, you can read it, you can dig for it. If you just want to go and just play, you could just play, and it doesn't matter what level you are. You don't have to. I can't go to this area because I've got to be a level 40, or I can't go to this area because it's just, and I think that's why they just drop you in. It's like, well, if you want to do lore stuff, you can. If you don't want to, if you just
Well,
want
and
to,
yeah, and I think that's also a really nice thing about it that makes it so accessible, because it's just like,
Yeah.
look, whether you have 100 hours or you're playing, or this is your first 10 minutes, like no one has any advantage over the other. I mean, other
Right.
than like maybe like knowing the map a little bit better, but otherwise, you know, with chests always being in any given location, you know, with, you know, all swords and guns not being any particular better than another characters, you know, they're just literally everything is aesthetic, so everything's at an equal,
right.
everyone's at equal ground, you know, at even ground, and it's like, so it doesn't matter
It
at the
just
end of the
comes
day,
down
you
to
know?
skill. You know,
Yeah.
it just comes down to skill. You know?
Yeah, and how well
if you want to be the dick or not, you know.
Yeah.
You don't have to be. You could just go on and not pay attention. You know, pay attention to people. But
and
I'm
how
a
well you
long
can
ways
sail the
from
ship.
yeah, I'm a long ways from jamming myself in a cannon, firing myself over 3 islands, and landing on an enemy ship and taking it single-handed. I can't do that.
No, I can't either. You know, but you know, it's funny when we play with random people. When me and Dennis would play with random people, they would do that all the time. We would just be going from point A to point B, and they would just hop into a cannon and be like, "I'll catch up to you guys. There's something over here. I'll go get it."
But I'll tell you what, though, I wasn't complaining, because I mean, at first we'd be confused because we'd be like, "Where in the world are they going?" Whatever.
Yeah.
But then, like, all of a sudden, you start seeing the things pop up of just like, you know, things like unlocking and all the
Here's
achievements and
doubloons,
whatnot.
and
It's like,
yeah, it's like,
okay,
oh,
yeah. I mean, if we're getting rewards for it, so be it. By all means, go ahead.
yeah.
Do whatever.
So now all we got to do is just get Eric and all 4 of us, and then we can just, you know, have a good time. But yeah,
Just tell him to, you know, just put the beer down, pick the controller up.
well, he can bring the beer with him. Just bring it home.
That's true.
You know, you don't have to go out to enjoy it. You can stay home and enjoy it with us.
I mean, that's the beauty of xCloud too. You can just pop it up on his phone.
Yeah,
you know, he'd be at the bar playing
he
Sea
pays
of
for
Thieves.
Ultimate. I mean, you know, he's got it. There's no reason he can't. Yeah, no, that's
might not be the optimum experience, but it'll work.
May not. Yeah, I mean, I've tried to play it a little bit on xCloud, and why it does work to an extent, but man, that connection has to be good. And
yeah, I'm a little more, usually when it comes to xCloud games, I usually don't want, even though they like, because I've seen a couple commercials where they actually, Sea of Thieves, for example, somebody was playing Sea of Thieves on their phone in like, you know, like Tokyo, while their friends were in like Germany, and then someone else in California, you know, and they're like, oh yeah, let's play Sea of Thieves, you know, no matter wherever, you know, and then it almost like it was a Switch commercial, but for xCloud, you know, like at home or on the go. But I'm a little reluctant with, I'm a little hesitant with multiplayer games like that, because not only do you need the connection for the game, but you need the connection for the multiplayer on top of that, and especially if it's like you gotta ping to a bunch of different stuff, and it's not.
What little bit of it I played, I haven't played with anybody, you know, per se, like in a crew on xCloud, but I've played it, and my only issue is with my phone, when it's at night, it's hard to see the screen.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's real hard. So I usually just end up setting import until the sun comes up. It's like, now I can see it's all bright and pretty.
Yeah.
You know, or I could turn my screen up to 100%, but that gets boring. You know, I don't like to do that back and forth. It becomes a hassle. But, you know, and using the Backbone controller, it helps.
Yeah.
You know, you could use touch. I can't imagine playing Sea of Thieves with touch, but
no, I have played some games with touch, primarily. Like, I know, like, one of the first ones I did was Iconfell, and that one was like really, really good with the touch, actually, just because it's just a standard single player like retro RPG experience. So I mean, it just felt like a normal. I've played a bunch of those sort of mobile RPGs that play like that, a lot of them being from Kemco. Kemco is probably one of the more famous ones that publish games like that, so it didn't feel any different from that. But now that I have like the Razer Kishi, also, like, oh man, it makes a world's difference. Like playing, you know, because then you feel like you're on like a, you know, like a handheld or a proper handheld. So.
It feels like a
and
Switch.
it feels great.
So
yeah.
It's I played Donut. Was it Donut Country? I played that whole
Donut
game.
County.
County. Yeah, that's right. I played that whole game, beat it all. I did it all touch. You know, it's
touch.
Like,
I can see that.
I think
game
there
like
is a mobile version of that, anyways.
Oh, there may be. See, I didn't even look. Maybe. I didn't even. There probably is. It wouldn't surprise me. I mean, it's not a taxing.
No, I mean, all you do is move around a hole. That's that's it. So, you know, I can imagine just, you know, sliding, you know, just doing it that way. So
and lag wasn't bad, so it was like, that's perfect. So but yeah, that's all I played. So well, you guys got a lot of overlap here. I guess I'll let dentist go, and then when you guys you guys can tell me about Psychonauts in 12 minutes and
Sure.
all that, because I've wanted to play them, but I just haven't had time. I've downloaded them, but that's all I've done.
Yeah, so I'll save those for last actually, because then it'll be a nice transition over to Nathaniel's list. But so yesterday I played Lamentum, and Lamentum, I could talk about it now, but it comes out on the 31st, and I played a little bit of that and streamed a little bit of it since the embargo went up on the 27th for that. And basically, it's another one of those sort of like it's a horror game, but like with like this sort of retro aesthetic.
Okay.
And I love stuff like that because honestly, like I'm just anything that has like a 16-bit or 32-bit sort of aesthetic to it, like I'm in love with. Like I love pixel art, I love that sort of art direction in general. But I know ever since I can remember, and we're seeing it more and more now, especially over the course of the last 10 years, especially I think Corpse Party really in particular like really made it super, like popularized it. But I always wanted something like that, but more horror. But I think the reason why you didn't see it so much back in the day was just because of the technical limitations. Like you couldn't really, it wasn't until we got to maybe like PS1 or Nintendo 64 where you really started seeing proper sort of horror experiences that would actually get under people's skin. Even though the graphics, compared to now weren't that great, I think there was enough with the 3D imagery that people understood what was going on and left an impact, so but now it's like, now that we can do a lot more animations and we can add a lot more effects and we can utilize 3D effects within 2D environments also, I think now we're capable of making strong horror experiences within that sort of 16-bit aesthetic also. Right. And so Lamentum is pretty much that, and it is you get put in a mansion. It has a lot of Resident Evil 1 vibes actually. You get put in a mansion and things go haywire. Basically you go to this place called Grave Hill, and the reason why is because there's someone there who can potentially heal your wife. Your wife isn't doing too good. She's very sick, and traditional medicine isn't working out for her. So you're like, you know what? At this point, I'll do anything to help my wife. So you go to this place called Grave Hill because you hear of this doctor that uses more unconventional methods of trying to heal his patients and whatnot, mainly sorcery and things like that. But as you start to kind of talk to him and kind of explore more of the mansion, you realize something isn't right. You start to get vibes of like The Shining and stuff. There's just like little girls like running around the hallway. You're like, what in the world? You hear people crying in the background, like blood coming down from the wallpaper. You're like, what in the world is going on?
When the walls bleed, nothing good happens.
No.
It depends on what they're bleeding, John. What if it's like I guess maple syrup or something?
Somebody's jammed the radar. No, anyway.
Yes.
Quick Spaceballs reference. But anyway, continue.
One of my favorite movies. I love Spaceballs. but yeah, no, like you go around and it's like it's a really like cool place that they've built. I played about 2.5 hours of it yesterday, and it is your sort of standard. It's not really doing anything new, but the environment and the atmosphere is like really, really solid. The story's pretty solid so far too. And you're just kind of going around in this sort of like, kind of like Resident Evil, where it's just like, there's a lot of puzzle based stuff. So, you find an item here that's used for this lock, this like, this box that's locked over here. And then you got to go to the second floor to get a key that's for a door in the basement. You're just moving around all over the place and trying to figure out puzzles, that way. And, you're doing all these sort of like quests in the meantime, trying to help the few survivors that are there. Because basically, all hell breaks loose and and your wife like disappears in this mansion. You're like, where is she? And so you're trying to find her. Meanwhile, you're trying to survive also, because all of a sudden there's these like insane demonic creatures that sort of come out of the ground and are trying to like basically attack and kill anything that's moving. But it has a very like gothic art direction also that's like very, very well done. Like the statues look really good and the pixel art is really, really solid, and runs well for the most part. I think my biggest complaint about that game though is that I don't like the menu system. Like every time you try to do anything, it immediately takes the box in which you were like that serves as like a cursor, and puts it on the top left part of your inventory. And like no matter what you do, whether you move something, equip something, it's miserable. And so I'll frequently move the same thing by accident, or unequip something that I just equipped, or just because things just keep moving to this one location rather than just staying exactly where they were. It's just a weird like quality of life thing they overlooked. It just felt very dated and very unoptimized. But other than that, really, I mean, the game design itself is pretty fluid and it's very solid. It's not doing anything new, from games like that. But if you love sort of horror retro indie experiences like that, stuff like Last Survivor, stuff like Distraint, the original Corpse Party, Viviette, so on and so forth. I think you're really gonna enjoy this one a lot. A lot of those RPG Maker horror games as well. I think Lamentum is definitely one to look out for once it fully comes out on the 31st. I highly recommend it to anybody who wants to check that out for sure. And yeah, so on the topic of horror, also I was playing this game called Fears to Fathom, Home Alone. Has nothing to do with Macaulay Culkin.
Oh, I was getting ready to say,
oh,
Home
that's
Alone.
Unfortunate, man. What if it did, though? What if it did?
Macaulay Culkin now, not as a kid.
It might have been him now, actually. but he so like it's a free game. It's a free game on Steam, and I got like a solid, like, I think not necessarily an hour, maybe like 30 to 45 minutes of it, but it was like a solid experience. I mean, this it had like such a great atmosphere. You play as this little kid, just like in Home Alone, and and basically your parents like leave for the weekend. So they didn't leave you, but they like by accident anyways, they were like, look, we're going on vacation, go ahead and stay here, and if you want to invite your friends over, you can do that. Don't forget to study, because you got that big test on Monday. So you invite some friends over, but as you're waiting for them, you decide to make a lasagna, you sit on the couch, whatever. But then there's like these weird things happening. People, you hear like a knock on the door, and you see somebody like standing outside looking all creepy. And then like I remember like after I woke up in one section, you didn't have to look out, I don't think, but like I looked out the window and you just see this dude just in the corner, just kind of like staring back at you at the window. I was like, oh my God, like the atmosphere was just insane. And
his
and
first mistake was looking out the window.
So, and you're playing as this like 13, 14-year-old kid. So he's got his own phone. If you press escape, your sort of phone comes up and you can text your, either your friends or your mom. And so, you text your mom right away, like, yo, there's this creepy dude outside. And she's like, look, for no reason, don't open the door. The usual advice, basically. So you ignore him for it, but little by little, like as you're trying to sleep and as it gets darker, because the game starts off with like it's in like the late afternoon, so that the sun is setting. It's not completely dark yet, but the sun is setting. And little by little, as you play through the game, it gets darker, and you hear more and more things happen. It's just like the atmosphere is just fantastic. For a game that's free, I was like genuinely surprised. I was like, oh my God, like, this is like even if this was paid, I would have been happy for it. Like, yeah. Honestly, like I was like genuinely happy with it. So, but yeah, and then you can go outside the house. You can go to your backyard, you can go to your front yard, you can go to the mailbox, stuff like that. It's not open world. Like there's an invisible wall you reach at one point, but like you can only go so far. But you can go all over your property and all over your house, in or out of your house, so long as it's on your property. So, and it's just really, really, really well done for such a small project. Again, it was only maybe 30 minutes, but like, I mean, that thing left an impact. It was crazy. It was really, really good. And so I highly recommend it for anyone just looking for like a nice, sweet, bite-sized horror experience. And also there are a couple different things that can happen to you depending on what you do. So everyone kind of has their own, like they're similar experiences, but they're still different enough where I think, you do get that sort of varied gameplay from person to person. So
a screenshot where there's like a TV and then there's like the dinner or whatever in front of them. So now I want someone to mod it. So they put Home Alone on the TV. So it's Home Alone inside a game called Home Alone.
Yeah, that would be great. That would be great. Hopefully
and that's all that happens is you just watch Home Alone inside a game.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's what it ends up doing is like, that's like one of the first things you do when you start the game is you make like a thing of lasagna and then you just go sit down and you eat the whole lasagna. The kid's 13. He made a whole big thing of lasagna, probably bigger than his whole
that
torso.
tracks.
Sure.
Like, that's crazy.
Dude, I remember how much crap I ate when I was a teenager. I'm like, yeah, sure.
I mean, yeah, me too. But like an entire like thing of lasagna, that's crazy. The amount of heartburn this kid's gonna have is crazy.
Plus, just being able to make it.
What? That's just a snack. It's just a snack.
It's just a snack. But for something that's free, I was very, very happy with it. So, for anyone who's looking for a nice, sweet, bite-sized horror experience, even if you're not really like big into horror, like it definitely like set the tone. No jump scares, anything like that. Everything was like very, very solid. So it was a strong atmosphere, very strong atmosphere. And apparently, like when I didn't notice this, but when you start the game, Home Alone is technically one of like maybe 5 or 6 different episodes that are planned. I don't know if they're all going to be free, maybe not. But again, like knowing the quality of this, and that was made by maybe 1 or 2 people tops, I'd be more than happy to pay for the other episodes that come out in the future. So, in addition to that, I played Last Messages. Like right before it, actually, a game called Last Messages, which is also a free horror game that you can play on Steam. Basically, the best way to explain this game is it's like Emily is Away meets like Welcome to the Game. So basically, the bulk of this game is going to take place in front of this computer, and you're going to be typing to people and talking to other people. It's the zombie apocalypse that happened, and you're just kind of talking to other people, like either around the area or in your complex. And it's just, you can't go outside. It's very dangerous, obviously, because there's all these zombies and whatnot. But little by little, like things start to happen. You start to hear like, crashes in the distance, zombies make their way in, and then you have to like hide at one point. And the game isn't very long. That's also one that's like maybe 30 minutes, 45 minutes. And also there's also an achievement that you can get for beating it in less than 10 minutes, actually.
Wow.
So yeah, it's very, very short. But I'll be honest, compared to Fears to Fathom, which I really liked, and this one I did not like, Last Messages, even though it was free, like it had potential, but it just ended like arbitrarily. Like basically one of the last things you do is somebody next door is like, hey, can I get a picture of you or something like that? Because you guys used to have like a history or something. And I don't know. I guess he just like forgot what you look like because like you guys haven't spoken in like 10 years or something like that. So, and he just moved in like the other day. And like, I thought this dude was going to come and kill us, but apparently not. Nothing happened. But so you send like a picture over to him, and then he's just like, oh, you grew up so beautiful, whatever. And then like he gets like attacked by a zombie, and then you just kind of watch, and then credits, and I'm just like, what? What? Like I was just very confused by the whole thing. Everything up to that point was actually like going pretty smoothly for the most part, but like I don't know, it was a lot. It was just kind of a big letdown, just because there's a lot more potential there that I think given the right time and the right sort of resources, I think it probably could have been something that was really, really solid, actually, but it ended up just being a massive disappointment, unfortunately. So, but it was unique enough. I mean, it was a very unique game. Again, it's like Emily is Away meets Welcome to the Game, and those games in their own right are very unique. So, kind of mixing those two, it worked well. It just, story wise and how it progressed, it needed a lot more polish and a lot more attention and just the right sort of creative minds behind it. But it was a good idea. Like the game is a really good idea. And I think as a concept, the game does a good job conveying what it's trying to do. But only as a concept, as a full game needs a lot of work. So, but conceptually it's actually like, it's a really solid idea. Just ended up being a little lackluster. But yeah, and then more in that sort of like being on a computer sort of spectrum. I played a game the other day called Song of Farka, and that game was awesome. I was loving this game. This game is like basically, so the game is split into like two, it almost looks like two screens, like you're doing like some split screen multiplayer thing. And the top screen is basically, you don't really have any control over the top screen. It's just kind of like what you see in the environment. So you play as this girl named Izzy, and she's a hacker. Basically, she's a hacker that's under house arrest, and but you still got to make money somehow. So she's basically contacting all of these people, or people are contacting her rather, to use her skills to kind of hack into certain places and try to help with stopping crime or figuring out crime or just deducing a lot of things. So yeah, the top screen is basically just like like her in her apartment, and yeah, so but basically everything you're going to be doing is going to be on the bottom half of the screen, and from there you're going to be hacking and looking into profiles and just figuring things out. And it's going to be a lot of text-based like adventures, but it's very much a choose your own adventure type thing as well. So depending on how you respond to some people, the evidence that you're willing to show, the evidence that you're willing to hide, so on and so forth, and some of the connections that you make, it can go any which way. And it's just really, really clever and really, really well done. And I was loving that game. Like that's, probably, every once in a while I love a good point and click. And this one like really scratched that itch. Like I can't recommend this enough. Like if you love like sort of cyberpunkish stuff and, hacking stuff in general, and you want something that's a little more simplistic, that isn't super complex, like let's just say like, I don't know, like something else that you would hack with, then do yourself a favor and try out Song of Farca, because it's and the art style is fantastic too. Like really, really, really great. The music's great, and the overall atmosphere, the characters are super unique, and the way each case sort of like blends into each other is crazy. It's just really clever, really well done, and I highly recommend it. It's an awesome game.
Yeah, that sounds cool.
Yeah, it looks cool.
Yeah. And yeah, and I guess on the topic of sort of like weird experiences, Psychonauts 2 just came out the other day.
Yes.
And I got to play a couple hours of it, and so far, like for a good portion of me playing that game, like I was smiling pretty much throughout. Like it had a lot of charm to it. It was awesome. The world building was fantastic, but more than anything, the level design is out of this world. Like it is so good.
Oh yeah, I played it way longer than 2 hours, and I'm still the same way, like smiling the whole time, just be like, "Wow, this is so good!" Like, we doing stuff, and then you like find a new little area. I'm like, "Oh wow, this is cool," or just like new music will pop up because you went to a different area. It's like, "Oh man, I really like this." It's just full of just awesome everywhere you go.
Yeah, it's a world that's just packed with like things to do and rewards in every corner, like so much to collect, and it doesn't like overcomplicate things either. Like it very much focuses on the fun of it, on the humor of it, and on the platforming and everything. So it's super accessible.
It just takes a while to open up.
Yeah, and like
because if you've only played a couple hours, you've probably barely gotten past kind of like the intro and maybe to the first kind of main dungeon, for lack of a better word, kind of like level.
Yeah, but like all of that, from what I have played so far, has just been. I mean, it's hard to not smile throughout. I mean, the humor's great, and the animations are really good too. Like sometimes it's like watching a movie. It's crazy. It's just awesome, and it's just really well done. And I think this is one of the best Microsoft exclusives like in a long time. Long time.
Double Fine got to put that extra bit of polish into it once Microsoft acquired them, and you can tell just from the way it looks. So it's like, hey, we want to make a sequel to Psychonauts. We want to take all of the like main pillars of what is Psychonauts, but just execute it now with the technology we have now, and they've done that because it very much feels like in tone exactly like the original Psychonauts. There's still the same types of collectibles you're getting in levels and things like that. It's just way better realized than that first game ever was, just because technology is way better now than it was for the original game. So just it looks better, but the art style is pretty much exactly the same kind of art style. It's just way higher fidelity.
Yeah,
it has an amazing soundtrack. The music in this game is my favorite part so far, and there's a lot to love about this game, but the music is just so good. Because like they have a lot of different kinds of music throughout too, but a lot of like jazzy stuff. Well, it depends on what level you're in, because they style it to the area very well, of like just
Yeah, they
themed
do.
for everything, including the music. But it's just like, you're in this type of area, you're gonna be hearing this, you're gonna be seeing these types of things in the environment. It's really, really, really cool.
Yeah, and I think it probably helped also that they ended up Microsoft money also to just help
Yeah.
in like
Yeah.
funnel a lot of resources into the development of it, because I think if Double Fine was still standalone, I mean, I think it still would have been close to what we got now, but there's a level of AAA polish that's here that I don't think probably. It's hard to explain, but you can feel it and see it, where I don't think that would have been there without Microsoft money. So.
Oh, it's not, because this is easily the most polished feeling Double Fine game they've ever made.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I like a lot of Double Fine games, but they've got their fair share of jank sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And not even a lot of jank, or just sometimes it's like, okay, you can tell that, a studio of a certain size made this game, but this feels like a big Xbox exclusive. Everybody should play this game if you have an Xbox kind of a game.
Yeah.
And it's got so much just crazy personality and imagination and just creative love flowing out of every corner of the game, of just like, somebody spent a lot of time on this because they wanted to, not because they had to.
Yeah.
And they're just like, we want to get it right. And there's nothing else like it too. It's like, it's got its own vibe. Psychonauts is Psychonauts. There's nothing else like it. And it's really fun. It's got that Double Fine humor in it. So like, if you don't like their particular brand of humor, it might not vibe with you, but the game is still fun to play.
Yeah.
They have it cracked me up because they have a warning at the beginning about like stuff that's in it, and it's something about like dental phobia or whatever.
Phobia, yeah.
Because
Dental
the very
phobia.
first tutorial intro level is inside the kind of dentist brain surgeon character or whatever from the first game. So since you're inside his mind, there's tons of like teeth and stuff everywhere.
That's funny.
So we'll put that warning right when you boot up the game, because that's what you're going to be seeing after the kind of like intro that recaps the first game. That's where you're at.
Yeah. Well, especially like with your like little like mind grabber thing, you can pull those teeth right out of like a lot of those gums too. So it gets crazy.
That's great. Yeah, it's I downloaded it. I haven't played it, but it's downloaded.
I want to know what it looks like on Series X, because the game is beautiful on Xbox One X, but then I was thinking
Probably looks like PC, because I played it on my
so.
Xbox One and on my PC because I could, just to see what the difference was. The difference is much faster loading time on PC and faster frame rate a bit, but on the Xbox One it still runs pretty well. It's just like the load times in between levels would take quite a bit longer, whereas on my PC it was probably going to be similar to what the Series X would be, and then you're in. Where like you'll sit and watch the thing spin for a while on Xbox One.
I've noticed. Yeah, that's like the one bad thing about dying, pretty much, is like you have to sit there through that. Otherwise, everything loads everything is like seamless.
Well, it depends on the area, because some areas load faster than others. I've noticed when I've been playing through, because I've been to a bunch of different areas in the game.
That makes sense.
Because you start in that area, then you end up kind of in a hub area that you'll come back to several times in the game, and then you go off to another kind of big, long, extended level that ends in a boss fight, which is a super cool boss fight. The boss fights in this game, I've only done 2, but they're really awesome and creative and fun. I can't wait till you get to kind of like where I'm at, because as cool as that first boss fight was, the second one that I've hit, I was like, this is ridiculous. I love it. But I can't say anything about it because it will kind of ruin it. So I can't even say kind of like the concept of it, because that's part of the fun of just like, oh, this is what we're doing. Awesome.
I'm excited.
But it also, like, it starts very linear where you're going through this, and then you go here kind of to the hub area. You can explore it a little bit, and then it shoots you off onto this other mission. But then you get back, and then you can go outside of the main hub area building, and there's all sorts of stuff around it. You end up going back to some like campground areas and stuff like that. I don't remember if it's supposed to be the exact same campground stuff from the first game or not, because it's been so long since I played it. But yeah, and then like more characters show up as you go through, and it's just like really, really cool. Fun stuff to find, like hidden in all sorts of little corners. Like every ability you have lets you do different things. Like, hey, you get pyro so you can burn paintings off the wall, and there happens to be a hole behind this one, so now you can go into this extra room.
Yeah. There's just a lot of excitement around this game. But like I guess one of the reasons why I asked also like what it kind of looked like, what it looks like, because it does look amazing on Xbox One X, but I noticed like the shadows are really good. And so I was thinking, I didn't know if the PC version or the Series X version, if they implemented ray tracing at all in Psychonauts 2.
I don't know if they did or not. I don't remember.
But
there is some stuff about like reflections or something in the PC settings, but I don't think it was like ray tracing.
Right.
I remember.
Right. Okay.
Because I do know they do the screen space stuff because I was testing it.
Yeah.
Because it goes away when it's off screen. Okay, there you go. It's not ray traced.
Yeah.
So I don't think there is, or if it is, it's not in the PC version, or I just didn't notice it. It's not like in your face or anything like some other games with ray tracing. If it does. But I don't know. It doesn't seem like the kind of game that would really have that or even take advantage of it necessarily if it did. So I would kind of doubt that it has it. I haven't looked it up though. It looks good regardless. It's got that weird kind of like cartoony vibe, but like all the textures are all like this weird. Well, they're high resolution, but like the style of like what their faces and stuff looks like texture wise, it has this kind of like weird illustrated look, but done in a style that's different than what you normally think of.
Yeah.
For like a storybook or something, it's just really unique, kind of interesting blend of stuff. The thing I like too, like little details, are some of the effects that happen on screen, like the particle effects and stuff. Like when you're on your little levitation ball and rolling around, and it has kind of like the motion lines off of it, or kind of like hand drawn, like in crayon looking to it, and all of like the figments you pick up, kind of the same style as that. There's so many fun like little things they do for like things that when they're animating and popping and exploding.
Yeah, the attention to detail like all over this thing is just insane. It honestly feels like they put game developers in the same room as just like actual like movie animators, and like just made this magic basically happen with Psychonauts 2.
No ray tracing, by the way. No,
I like the cartoon fire enough that it's turned me into a pyro. I try to burn all the things because I like it when they catch a fire. I have like, so you get all the little like powers in your menu show up as kind of like little badges, and they're actually on your backpack when you're running around. If you notice, you'll like, as you get more, there's more of them will show up on your bag or whatever it is. But when you upgrade them on Pyro, I have maxed out now. And it makes it like a huge. The way it works is you hold the button, it makes kind of like a bubble, and anything inside it will like catch fire when you let go. So at first it's like a small bubble in front of you, and then you upgrade it a couple of times, and then it's like a medium bubble in front of you, and then when you upgrade it fully, it's like this big bubble all around you. It's great.
That's funny. Yeah, that sounds awesome.
It's super, super cool. There's just it's all sorts of just fun, creative things all throughout that game so far.
Yeah. But yeah, and then in addition to that, another game that came out, because Psychonauts 2 is on Game Pass, another game that came out on Game Pass recently is by one of my personal favorite publishers, Annapurna, and a game called 12 Minutes. 12 Minutes, which took a lot more than 12 minutes to beat, and tell you that much.
Well, then that's false advertisement.
Yeah, it is. It is. And
not frankly, but
I want my money back.
However, I will say it takes way more than 12 minutes, but it should take way less than it actually takes, because there's a lot of stuff in that game that artificially lengthens it.
Yeah. And it gets repetitive after a while, but overall, I had an amazing time with 12 minutes, though. I loved kind of deconstructing every scenario. And, well, it was the same scenario, but deconstructing every possible scenario that you could within like these micro events, which in this larger scenario. And it was just awesome sort of deconstructing everything and seeing every which way a path could go depending on your decisions.
And then sometimes like me, where I'm testing stuff out and like, oh no, they didn't program that in. That's not what I thought it would do. You programmed a different thing that this interaction would make, and oh crap, what did I just do?
Well, like there's a part where like, so there's three main characters in this game that you'll pretty much only see throughout your entire playthrough, which is basically Daisy Ridley's character. She plays the wife. You have the main character is played by James McAvoy, and then you have the police officer who's played by Willem Dafoe. So there's a part where Willem Dafoe kind of came in, and when he went into the bathroom, not the bathroom, sorry, the bedroom, and I finally figured out how to like take him out, like knock him out briefly, with the sort of like the switch on the wall, the faulty switch on the wall. I didn't think to like pat him down at first, so I just thought he was like out the first time. So I was like, oh, okay, perfect. Now I can just kind of like look around and see where I can find.
We are very different. The first time, like, I didn't even know how he got knocked out. I just knew he was. So I went there, was like, oh, what's he got? Oh, click on him. Oh, look at all this stuff. That was like the first thing I did. And then it took me a long time to replicate it because I was like, I don't know how he got knocked out, so I got to figure out how that happened.
No, that part I got down. Like I figured out after a couple of trial and errors where it's just like, all right, flip the switch once because they mentioned the switch is faulty, and then the second time will literally just be almost fatal. Well, for you it's fatal, but for him it just knocks him out briefly. And because I just tested it on myself and like it killed me, and I had to like restart the loop. But when Willem Dafoe gets hit with it, after I patted him down and I took his gun, I didn't realize like. What I equipped his gun and I hovered over his character. Now I clicked it. The reason why I clicked it, it was his torso. I didn't realize you could choose different parts of the body, but it was his torso. Now the reason why I did that first, because in my mind I was thinking like, okay, now that I know he gets up after like a minute, maybe he'll wake up and I'll be like, pointing a gun in his face, and then he'll like give me the information that I want. And that did not happen at all. When I clicked his body, I shot him and I killed him.
There is no threatening with a weapon in this game. Anytime you use a weapon, it's to use it.
yeah, and like it honestly, like it took me by surprise. Like when the gunshot happened, like I shot up out of my chair. I was like, oh my god, it scared me because I wasn't expecting that at all. I was like, oh no.
Then I had a moment like that I'll talk about in a minute. This got me kind of jump up like, whoa, that's not what I meant.
Yeah, and it seems to be like there's a couple of those too, but I loved all the which ways that they sort of thought about it and programmed it. Obviously, there's definitely parts that they missed where it's just like, you didn't think that one out, did you? But overall, like 12 minutes. I did get one ending. I know there's probably a bunch of different endings. I know that
well, technically there's one, but there's like achievements for quote endings, or I think there's like 5 or 6.
Okay.
One of which I will never get because I rage quit.
You were telling me about that the other night when we were playing.
We will get to that.
Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, no. Overall, I thought it was a great time. It just kind of adds to the portfolio that Annapurna has of just like these really unique games that I don't think anybody else would take the risk of publishing. And that's why I like Annapurna so much. And then not to mention, like, I think them also being a movie studio, because Annapurna Interactive is literally it's a subsidiary of their bigger, because they're mainly a film company, and their interactive portion is actually a subsidiary of that. So of course, being able to have those connections, that's probably why they were able to get people like, Daisy Ridley, James McAvoy,
just save their money.
Or
maybe they just got them at a great discount. It didn't matter, but they still should have saved their money and got voice actors.
Yeah.
Willem Dafoe was fine. Daisy Ridley and James McAvoy, if it didn't say their names on the game, you have no idea it was them because they don't sound like themselves, especially Daisy Ridley. But James McAvoy is just like, and also I think having voice actors would have helped because there's some stuff that's a little bit more meaty, like longer lines and conversations back and forth, but there's a lot of just like shorter bits of dialogue that you could tell they were bored with it or something. It's like, hey, they said the line, great, cool. But I think if you'd had voice actors, they could have injected a little bit more personality into it, maybe.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It is what it is. It's fine. It's not like it's bad. It's just like, okay, why did you spend the money to get these big Hollywood actors, and this is what the result was? All right. fine, I guess, but I don't think you got your money's worth.
Yeah, like I honestly think like for James McAvoy's character, like honestly, I mean, I would have much preferred like someone like I don't know, like someone like Nolan North to do that character. I feel like would have been
that would have been awesome because Nolan North is in everything, so why not?
Right.
Exactly.
But yeah, those are my thoughts on 12 minutes. I know you have more to say, Nathaniel.
Well, 12 minutes, like I'm not as positive on it as you are. I have kind of a little bit of a love-hate relationship to it, or like a like-hate, because I really liked it, digging into it a bit, getting a little frustrated sometimes where it's like, oh, why didn't you think of that? Or just like the logic of it sometimes was just like, well, you run into any kind of like, because this is basically a point and click adventure game, just kind of like a modern twist on that kind of like you get inventory things, you have to figure out how they combine or what you can use them on and what kind of weird thing does the game do with it.
Yeah.
Opposed to what you think you could do with it. So like, here's the logic. So you go and you have all this stuff and then the cop shows up and he'll like put you on the ground and put you in zip ties and stuff. And if you have the knife in your inventory, you can cut your way out of them.
Yes.
So I was like, oh, I want to try this next run. Here's the logic. Maybe if my wife has the knife, she can cut her way out of it or something. No, you just turn on, you like stab her to death. And I was like, what? That's not what I meant. Because anything else, you can give her other items where it's like, here you go, have this thing. And so like, I was just like, that's not what I meant, game. That's not what I meant.
I never thought to do that. Like I did want to give her the knife, but what my initial thought, like I did at one point. How I did it though was after she fell asleep. Like after I gave her the sleeping pills, and she went to sleep, I just put the knife in her inventory and then I was going to wait in the closet because I was like, all right, well, then the cop's going to come in. He's going to drag her out, and then I'm hoping that like now that she'll have the knife, she'll be like, oh, how did I get this? Whatever. And then she'll kind of work her way out. And then I can come through the closet and be like, yo, what's good, man? And then like, and then just go crazy from there. But no, but nothing ever came out of that. Like it was basically the same scenario every time. I didn't realize you could stab her though. That's crazy.
You can also do that when she's asleep. You can stab or shoot her if you get the gun. It's just like, oh no. Or sometimes, or wait, no, you can't. That's right. It says something like, oh, that won't help now or something like that. That's what it was. But yeah, you can do all sorts of weird things in that game that you're just like, why would I do that? Like, but like some stuff I did like figure out like my routine because the game forces you to do stupid routines. You can't really skip over stuff for the most part. It has a terrible skip system. It's like it's the worst possible permutation where it's not like, hey, we don't have it at all, or you have like a fast forward button so you can fast forward through anything. It's a certain conversations, if you're directly in it, you can skip some of the lines. But then there's other stuff where you can't skip it because like there's a conversation happening outside the door that you have to wait to finish so that the story moves forward. You can't say open your door and like they'll see you and then like come in, because no, that interrupts it and then something different happens. You have to wait. There's so many like little things in there that make you have to wait. Or if they just put like a quick little like skip or fast forward type thing into the game a little bit more than they already did, that would have alleviated it. Or throwing kind of like a weird chapter select or something. So if you've like gotten one or two endings and you want to go back and see, some of the other ones, then you could do that, and that would be nice. But they don't respect the player's time at all in this game. And that was the thing that frustrated me the most, because you kept doing the same thing over and over because you're like, I want to do this one thing, but in order to do that one thing, I have to spend an hour and a half to get to that point in the game again, because the ending I had last reset the entire kind of set of logic of the loops. Because like each loop is like, maybe a max of 10 minutes long or so, if you're just like letting it kind of slowly play out. And there's some stuff you can kind of do to skip. So if like you go to the bed, it will fast forward the time in that whatever loop you're on. But so like your character in the game knows certain things. And if you try to skip ahead of that, it does not work. Even if it logically will do so, if this were real life. So like there's all this stuff that you set up, and then you have a conversation, and then like the cop guy, like when you finally figure out how to get him to talk to you instead of just trying to like murder you guys and figure out what's going on, it's like, okay, here's the thing. And me, having gone through this before, know that you have to give him a certain item to trigger a thing, because he says like, oh, if only I knew this thing, that's weird. And then you're like, hey, look at this. But you can't do that in the first loop time that he says that, you have to wait for it to complete, then you come back, then your character at the start of that loop says, oh, I wonder if I gave him this thing, what that would do. You can't just immediately give it to him because he'll kill you. It's like, it's so frustrating because then you have to start over again, do 10 more minutes. And then, like, the endings, I think it's 2 of them will completely reset all that logic. So you're basically at the very beginning of the game again. So if you want to go do this other thing, that you have to get to kind of like the end of all the progression, you have to spend an hour and a half to do that. And I did all that, and I got there, and there's a thing where you're trying to waste time, and I didn't click a thing right enough, so it finished a dialogue thing that then reset all of that again to the very beginning. I couldn't just like retry it immediately, and I was just like, nope, I'm not getting that ending, I'm not getting that achievement. Done. I'll look it up on YouTube later if I feel like it, because I got there's one of the endings that actually like rolls credits, so it's kind of like the true end of what's going on in the story to kind of like inform like, okay, this is it. But even then it's a bit ambiguous about like what's actually going on. And I kind of like the theory that people are floating about that's not actually time loops, but I won't get into what it actually would be. But even that, I don't like any of the actual like things I thought of or things I looked up that other people thought of like, here's what this ending means, like all those articles you'll see on the internet whenever a game comes out. I was just like, but that doesn't make sense because that hole here. But if this is going on, then that part of the game over here doesn't make sense. And it's just like, I don't know. I think it's a cool concept that like most of it works. It has some frustrations with just how it plays mechanically a little bit, but I don't know. There's a lot of it that's really cool that I liked. It's just kind of like, and then it just immediately crashes into something that's frustrating. It's just like, Yeah.
I want to play that one too. I've got it downloaded. I just need to find the time to boot it up.
Yeah,
one more week
definitely
work
worth
and
trying.
I'm off for a week, or off for 4 days in a row. So it's like, okay, yeah, I'll have to try stuff out there.
Yeah, I highly recommend it.
Yeah, definitely worth trying. It's just I had enough frustrations with it that like marred it for me. It was just
I
like,
get that.
It could have been so much better, I think is what it was. Yeah. If it just didn't frustrate me so much, I would have. That tainted all the stuff I did enjoy about it. It was like, oh yeah, this is cool, until I finally like kept hitting a brick wall. I was just like, oh, I want to do this thing and I can't. One fun thing, did you ever do a ghost run of the like mini loop? Because if you do, so like just a loop of where like the day starts and then you end and it starts over, like that part of what I mean by loop. Because you could think of the whole entire game kind of as a loop if you really thought about it that way. But like, if you're fast enough, when you start a loop, you can like grab the 2 cups, run into the closet, wait for your wife to come out, and then go into the other room, run into the bathroom, close the door, fill up the cup, spike it, and then trying to remember how the motion, but you can get it back out and set it out so she'll pick it up and then she'll fall asleep and she'll never know you're there.
Oh,
you can also just like hide out in the closet, and then the dude will come and he'll be like, "Is anyone else here?" "No, my husband. He's coming back from work soon," because she doesn't know you're there. It's just all these little weird details. They don't really get you anything. Because I for a while was trying to get like, okay, I'm gonna call 911 and see if I can get the cops to come in here.
That's what I tried doing right away.
Or like, let's try and set it up where we kill this guy, but we make it look like it was like self-defense. And I was like, okay, no, that's not where the game is going, so I can't do any of these cool things I thought of. It's like, it was just a lot of, hey, I'm gonna try this. Oh wait, no, the game didn't account for that. Never mind.
Yeah, because like a lot of that, like I had a lot of ideas that had to do with like the phone and the cops getting there and whatnot, but that the cops never show up because they're going to be there in quote unquote 15 minutes, and you only have 10 minutes before it loops anyway. So it's
the phone is the one weird thing where most of the other items in the game have a purpose. And it's an obvious purpose for the most part, except for maybe like the fake candles on your table or something.
Yeah.
But almost everything has at least one major function in the story. Whereas the phone is like, hey, you have this one thing, but it also has these red herring things you can do with it too. And so it's just a little bit weird that you can like, hey, you can call yourself on it on the bad guy's phone if you know what your own phone number is. You get your own voicemail.
Yeah.
You can call the health insurance company, although I never stayed on the line because I'm like, I'm not going to hold in a video game.
I don't have that much time. This game's only 12 minutes.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. I just as a test, I actually did almost the whole time like keep trying to wait on hold, you never get put through. Never. You just keep every like little bit of like time that passes by, it'll be like, do you still want to hold? And I'm like, yes. Do you still want to hold? Yes. Do you still want to hold? Yes. Did that like 27 times, then nothing ever happened.
That's an example of why just like don't put that in your game, because that's frustrating and annoying. Because if you put that there, you think, oh hey, if I hold long enough, maybe I'll get something and get a clue. And if that just don't give you the option, just have the character say like, I'm not holding, and then hang up or whatever. It doesn't matter. Like, don't make me waste my time only to be frustrated because there was literally nothing new for the whole time.
What?
I mean, if you want to put a cool Easter egg, that's great, even if it doesn't actually do anything for the story. But at least have something where, like, okay, they answer the phone right at the last minute, and then you don't get very far, or whatever, something. But you're just doing the same thing over and over for the whole loop until it resets and it doesn't do anything. It's kind of like, well, that's sad. You could have done something with that.
Go ahead. What else you been playing?
Okay. Oh, yeah. I forgot that we're actually on to me. Since
you're on.
Transition-y thing. Stuff we're both playing.
That transition was so smooth. You didn't even notice you slid right in there.
It was so smooth.
That's why I saved them for last. Yeah, I just wanted to.
I slid on that transition. My feet flew in the air, and I landed on my head.
We've all done it.
Let's see. I bought Garden Story on the Switch and been playing some of that. It's a fun chill game.
Yep.
For the most part. Like, you can get into like a little bit of like the combat-y stuff, but it's not like it's hard. So it's just got a really fun, charming just vibe about it. You're kind of like, hey, you're this cool grape dude, and you're now the guardian of this like tree or something. Like, I forget what they call it. Maybe it's the garden. I can't remember now. Like the overall thing. And you have different areas. So you have like the main area you start in is kind of like a springtime themed, and then you have one that's kind of summertime themed. That's kind of like the beach area, and then you have one that's like autumn, and then there's a winter area that I haven't gotten to yet. And like each place you go to, you have different things you do for the townspeople to help build it up, and you level up 3 different areas of things you do during the day. You can get tasks, and then that unlocks new things in the store. You can upgrade your tools. You can upgrade your weapons, that kind of stuff. I don't know. It has very much kind of a Stardew Valley like art style ish, although slightly kind of to the side of that. But that's very similar to I think what they were going for. Mm-hmm. And everybody's like, you have all these like characters that are all like plants or fruit, or there's like frogs in the game, and then you have like all the enemy is the rot, so everything is rotting. You're trying to clear out the rot. And then you have kind of like a dungeon in each area that once you finish it, it kind of like, hey, cool, you saved us for now. Go help this town for a while, and then you come back here later. So I don't know how much of the game there is after where I'm at or not, because I've made it to the autumn area, which is the 3rd area that you can get to. And I'm kind of in the middle of that one.
Did you beat that one, Dennis?
No, I'm still working on it. Okay, I'm still working on it. I put about 6 hours into it though. It's like, but it is super chill. It is super chill though. I mean, like, it's very. I don't know, maybe not the best example, but it kind of feels like a Zelda light, almost kind of.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah. It's kind of like if you take some of the kind of crafting material bits from like a Stardew Valley or something like that, where like say you need 10 of these things in order to make this item, take a bit of that system, take a bit of like running around like a 2D Zelda style with a little bit of simplified combat with that.
Yeah.
And a little bit of kind of the mechanic from like a Stardew Valley or something where it saves when you go to sleep for the day, that kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And that's sort of what Garden Story is. Not exactly. Kind of taking a few of these things from different areas and blending it into its own thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just a fun, chill, cool vibe. I've been playing it mostly handheld on the couch while I'm just like trying to like just chill out for the end of the day or something. I was trying to think if I played it any time, but I think most of the time I've been playing it kind of more towards the end of the day.
Yeah. Cool.
It's not going to pump up your adrenaline that much. It's like, all right, I'll just relax, play some Garden Story. There you go.
Yeah, that's what I
Nice
was
time.
going to say. It was like, it's just kind of laid back and,
Yeah, whenever it showed up in like
wind
the
down.
Nintendo showcasey thing or whatever it was that they showed it off, that I was like, oh, that's cool. I want to try that. So I ended up buying it for like whatever it is, $20, I think, something like that.
Yeah.
There's another game kind of like that I saw on like a YouTube channel, I think is where I first saw it. One of the people I subbed to had this game called Dreamscaper that they were playing. And I looked at like a couple like minutes. I was like, okay, no more. I'm going to go try that out. So Dreamscaper like was a early access game by a small team, and it just went kind of to 1.0 version of it really recently. So kind of like the full release. I would describe it as, what if a roguelite game was kind of chill? So like the game is set up where you're playing as a girl named Cassidy, I think. And so all of the actual like going through the dungeons and stuff is she like falls asleep and you're going through kind of like different levels of the dream or nightmare or whatever. You have a bunch of different enemies. You get a bunch of different equipment and magic abilities and stuff that you unlock. So you have kind of a melee weapon, you have a ranged weapon, you have a shield, you have a big overall magic ability thing that charges up based on the number of rooms you visited. Then you have two magic abilities, which and every run, at least where I'm at, you start with one of them and you can find another one. So there's mapped to like the shoulder bumpers. And so those are on kind of like cooldown timers. And then you're just going through kind of like different rooms. And some of them will have treasure chests, some of them will have enemies, some of them will have like a cool rock thing that you have to bomb in order to get some money out of it. And then as you go, you unlock some other types of rooms that you can put in there. And then each kind of floor ends with a boss that when you beat the boss, then you go to the kind of the next floor, which has a completely different kind of environment to it. So the first one is sort of wintry kind of stuff. The second one's kind of in the city, and then the third area, as far as I've gotten, it's kind of like this campground, forest, kind of autumn-y look to it. And the conceit of the game is you're kind of like working through mental issues. So the boss of the first floor is like fear. And then the second one, I think, is regret or something like that. So they're taking, like, personifying these things. And then all of, like, when you come out of the, like, dream, you wake up in your room and you have, like, some different spots around the city. They're basically just different screens that you kind of teleport to. And you're talking to people and you're learning more about them, and you can, like, craft things for them to increase your relationship with them. And then that will, like, get you some bonuses when you go into the dungeon, because you could select who you want as like your inspiration. So they'll give you like a buff to defense or a buff to magic abilities or whatever. Each person has different stuff they kind of buff, and as you level it up, you get better things. And some of it, like, hey, here's where you imagine new items that will be in the dungeon by like drawing them out based on things that you found the last run. There's things that you get where you'll get more health and things like that, but just the labels on them are like better myself, or learn to do this better, that kind of things. There's all sorts of different there's like a list of things that you can do, kind of like Hades had, where when you get it you get like bonus items. So like, hey, if you complete 4 weapon masteries, then you get 100 gold or whatever it might be. Not gold in the game, it's like sand, I think, is the currency, one of them. So yeah, it's very much just a roguelike game, but it has like the art style is really cool. Mechanically, I think it could be a little bit tighter, but based on like the small team that made it, it's really great. And it has, I don't know, it has a little bit of maybe a Life is Strange kind of art style, kind of that way, a little bit different than that, but that's the closest thing that's kind of coming to mind. But yeah, it looks really good. It plays fun. But it's like, most you think of a roguelite, you think more like intense, like, oh man, this run gonna end, oh man, I gotta not get hurt, which it has a little bit of that, but just the music is all just chill. And it's like there's not really any like intense battle music that starts whenever enemies show up to that much. It's just not like, yeah, I'm just vibing out, going through this thing, and then I'm gonna fight this boss at the end. And
Sounds pretty cool.
It's an interesting, just different kind of a feeling playing that.
Huh.
And then I've had one more thing that I played after like Gamescom. They had some stuff showing off Riders Republic, and the beta was like, "Hey, it's open to everybody now." So I played that for a couple hours or so the other night on my PS5. That game is awesome. I'm definitely gonna want to buy that when it comes out in October, I think.
Never heard of it until you said something in our Twitter chat.
You have heard of it. It was at E3. And
I don't
before
remember
that,
anything about
so
it.
Riders
Didn't even
Republic
ring a bell.
is it's made by the same studio that did Steep. Plus, because it's Ubisoft, a bunch of other studios have gone in it too.
Like
They even have in the settings, you can change some of the controls to Steep mode, which I found
Didn't
funny.
realize that.
Yeah, but it's very much like their extreme sports game, arcadey kind of thing. So think the Forza Horizon formula, open world game, but instead of cars, it's people on snowboards, people on mountain bikes, people jetting through the air on rocket gliders.
Gotcha. Yeah. All right. I remember that now.
But they even have some of the same, like a lot of the same stuff from like Forza. So there's very much like landmark points that you go and collect.
Mm-hmm.
There's just different other things in the open world that you'll find. They have like different events that you run. They have some like different special things in there too. I didn't get too far into it because I was pretty much on rails for the intro part. I'm like, hey, go here, go try this thing, go try that thing. Okay, now try the open world for a little while. It looks like you could play the beta a lot, and I was just like, I'm not going to burn myself out on it here. I'll wait till the full game comes out.
Yeah.
But it has a lot of, like, even some of the UI feels a lot like Forza Horizon 4 to me. It's got a lot of kind of like white backgrounds with bright, vibrant colors over the top of it. And I don't know, there's a ton of cosmetics in that game. I'm sure there's going to be tons for microtransactions in the future because it just looks like it's made for that.
They're going to want you to connect to Ubisoft, like connect with to get the Ubisoft rewards, like that are exclusive on there with the gold coins and everything. Too,
I mean, that doesn't matter because like I've got so many Ubisoft points for all the
so
Ubisoft games I've played. It's just like, I'll unlock it when I start the game. But like you can get a bunch of different. So the way it works if you're just roaming around is you have like a wheel that you select which kind of equipment you want to be on. So do you want to be on your bike? Do you want to be on your skis? Do you want to be on a snowboard? Do you want to be on whatever? And then they also have kind of a traversal slot. So the only thing that I unlocked was a snowmobile, but you could look at what was unlockable after that. And there's like a rocket glider and some other stuff in there too. Just made for, hey, you want to traverse a little faster than you can on just your normal stuff? Here you go.
Yeah.
But there's like you can in the beta you could just like if you had enough gold earned you could get like a T-Rex costume and other goofy stuff in there. It's very much not a serious game.
Yeah.
And it's also similar to a Forza game. You can tweak it to be as well, this is a little bit different, but you could tweak the mechanics and the controls a bit for difficulty and then get bonuses and points. So for example, you can set tricks to auto land by default, but if you set them to manual land where you have to adjust the rotation yourself, the better the landing you get, more bonus points you get, which you don't get that at all on there. So it's kind of like they have a similar thing to what you'd find in a Forza game of like, hey, take off some of these assists and get more bonus points if you can do it.
Yeah, it makes sense. It sounds cool.
The fun thing, though, is it's up to 64 players, and they have mega races and stuff where literally everybody's starting at the start of the race at the same time. It's just like insanity. It's nuts. And then when you're running through the open world, they also have a bunch of ghosts of real players of stuff that they've done. So it feels like it's populated and there's things everywhere. It's not like right on top of you, but like on your map, you'll see little icons, or you're just going around, you'll see somebody just like ski by for no reason. And if you can either race versus people or you can race solo, which is against ghosts of real people. Kind of like the Drivatars, I guess, in the Forza games.
Yeah.
But you can set the difficulty of those too, so it can be like standard. You can make it really hard, and so what that does is it picks more like, okay, this race, the average time was here, so that's the average difficulty. If you want it harder, it's all the best times, so it just adjusts which ghosts it's picking. Which is kind of cool.
Yeah, that sounds cool.
But it's very much giving me kind of like, an SSX style vibe of it's that kind of a game where it's just like just have fun, be goofy. Like even like
Yeah.
Forza, it has like instead of a festival, it has just like the Writers Republic. We have our cool little base up here that we do all our stuff from, and you can unlock things from here, and you know you can practice your tricks. You can. They have. I didn't try it, but they have like even a thing where you can create your own races and things like that. Create your own events and have other people play them.
Yeah, that's cool.
So like they have, at least on paper, everything they would need for this game to be successful and be around for a long time. So I don't know, it's fun to play.
I think it's interesting they went with this. I'm kind of happy that they did though, just because I really loved Steep, and I know Steep 2 was planned. However, they scrapped it, and I'm assuming this is what came of it, pretty much.
It makes sense. It's really good to have the variety in there. It's fun because like the snowboarding and skiing and. But then you can go and do a bike race if you want, or just
I think they really wanted. I think they really wanted to kind of do something similar to what they did with the Crew, also, where it's just like, you know what, let's not limit it to just one. Like, let's not limit it to just cars. Now let's add planes and jet skis and stuff. You know, so now it's kind of like this, where it's like, all right, you know, let's not just limit it to, you know, stuff that involves snow. You know, let's go.
Well, and there's a niche for that nobody's really filling. You know, we don't have a.
That's true. That's true.
You know, you don't have an SSX game. We don't have, you know, that kind of extreme.
I'm really happy between like this and like a couple of other games recently, hoping it's starting a trend of let's get more arcadey kind of games back for sports stuff.
That's exactly the word I was trying to think of. Yeah, arcadey sports game. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah, because like honestly, because like I mean, other than, and they're not what they used to be, but like other than like MX versus ATV, you know, there's like you didn't really have those kind of extreme sports anymore. So I think that's why I loved Steep so much. Also, is because it really scratched that itch for me.
Yeah,
love Steep.
And those were
like on Game Pass. I just got it, and so I was like, oh, I'm going to download the SSX game that's on here, which is the last one they made, which was on like 360 or whatever.
Yeah.
I played it for a little bit and was like, yeah, that's fun. I'm not going to play any more of it because like 30 FPS or less, and even, you know, because of the way the game is made, even though the hardware could totally do better than that, and it's just like not as sharp because of like the rest of
that one doesn't. Okay.
No,
it's like emulating the 360. Like it even brings up the 360 boot logo when you boot it up.
Yeah.
So it's like, hey, you're on 360 hardware, kind of as far as the game is concerned. Okay. But yeah, it's fine. It's good for the era. It was just like, oh man, I wish that a more modern version of this existed. And then when I tried Riders Republic a few days later, I was like, oh, okay. I am even more interested in this game now because this is a lot of fun. The thing that was tripping me up though is because since I'd recently just played the SSX game, I was trying to do SSX with the thing, and it's just enough slight differences with how the thing works. Because you're still using the stick to kind of like jump and do tricks if you put it in manual mode, which is why I did so. But it's less about like in SSX, it's kind of about preparing and then going, and then this one you're holding it on the stick, and as soon as you let go of the stick, you stop rotating. Kind of, and it's just the feel of it was a little different, so it took me a bit to get used to. But you can even put it on like simple controls. The jumps, like the flips and the spins, are all on the face buttons, which I thought was weird. So because it's not like you just hit a button and you do it. You start with like the bottom button and then hit the top button to start your flip to do one direction, or opposite to do like back flips, and then like same for the other face buttons to do left and right spins. So I was like, well, but if you want to do the combos, then you have to hit them at the same time, and it's just like, that feels weird. I'm gonna put it on the stick.
And see, that might be a game that, you know, SSX could be a game that Microsoft would go back and make it 60. I mean, they've done it for other 360 games, but
I could have. But even it's more less than that. It's just like, I think it's probably like 720p or something, whatever it would have been on the 360. So it's just not as sharp.
Right.
Even if it ran at a higher frame rate.
A lot of those games like Splinter Cell Blacklist, they went back and upped to 4K, 60 frames a second. You know, they could do that if they wanted to, if there's enough interest in that game, you know. And
plus I don't know if it's because it's an EA game, if that changes things either, because they're all their own group on Game Pass anyways. So whatever, it's fine. I just, at this point, it's like, hey, EA is never going to make another SSX game or another Burnout game, and if they did, it wouldn't be the same anyway, because it'd be a completely new studio, so who knows?
Yeah. I'll have to download the beta and try it out.
I don't think
it ends tomorrow
anymore. It ends. I thought it was ending today, which I thought was weird, because it said 28th last time I saw.
29th, but I don't know if they
did it. Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe it's 29th, and I just
unless it is today, like at midnight, which would technically be the 29th.
Yeah,
but
that'd technically be 29th. If not, no big deal.
Yeah. If not, if you're looking for that kind of game, you could just pick it up probably. Because if you watch like the trailers or gameplay of it and be like, hey, yeah, that's the kind of game I want, then I'd be like, go ahead and do it because it plays really well. It's very smooth.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So, yeah, that's kind of what I've been playing.
All right. Well, Gamescom was this week. Microsoft did their little pre-stream thing. It was okay.
It's way funny in retrospect from the stuff that happened a day later, where it's like, hey, Jeff Keighley stole Microsoft's thunder because it's like, oh well, he has it. What do we put in our own show?
Yeah, it was very strange, I thought, because it was like, at the end of it was like, they talked about Age of Empires, and they didn't even show any footage. It was just like they did the little, hey, we're doing a lot of history, behind the scenes.
It was like a documentary they showed pretty much.
Yeah, and stuff, which is, it's cool. And then they had the Forza 5 opening, which that was awesome. They talked about cloud gaming coming to consoles, so you could play Series X games, streaming on your One X, and they were talking about Flight Simulator and stuff like that. But it was, and afterwards everybody was like, no Halo news, no release date, no nothing. And then it was just strange. It's like, I wonder if they just made the deal with him before that, on his show, that they would, I don't know. It just seemed weird. It seemed like it was an unnecessary show and a long show for not a lot of information.
It was pretty long. Yeah.
It was like an hour and a half. They could have done it in half that time, I think.
Probably. I just remember watching the bulk of it going like, either like we've seen this before, or this is just stuff that you could have compiled in probably a quick little montage trailer instead of spending. Like that documentary with the Age of Empires, like I'm sure people were into it. And honestly, I love documentaries, so I was like, oh my God, this is interesting. But I could tell by like the chat that everybody was just like, what's the game? Like, what is this? Why am I watching National Geographic or like Discovery? What is this?
Exactly.
Like, what's the game?
And I find that stuff interesting too. And it's great that they put it in the game. Awesome. But I really want to see what the game was more so.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, honestly, in that case, it doesn't matter. It's Age of Empires. It's the same as it's always been.
I'm sure.
Like, you've seen the art style from the trailers of it already. There you go. It's Age of Empires that looks like this.
So I'm not going to touch a whole lot on that other than the cloud gaming on consoles thing, which is pretty cool, especially if, you come into a situation like you've got Game Pass Ultimate, you're on an Xbox One X, you want to play a game that's a Series X optimized, your streaming's good, you can stream it on that. Or if it's a game that you want to play immediately while it downloads in the background, you can go ahead and start streaming it and play it while it's downloading.
That's really awesome. I like that.
That stuff's kind of cool. But it's stuff that we already knew that was coming, and it's coming this holiday. We just didn't know when it was coming. So
I'm curious how that works, because you're like double downloading at that point.
Yeah,
you got the stream of the game, and then you're downloading the game at the same time.
Your download rate's probably going at like 2 megs a second, probably.
Yeah, well, and the other thing is too. Well, see, I don't know how that works on the Series X. If you're playing a game or you have a game running in the background, and you're downloading something, it cuts that download in like half.
There's definitely throttling for that type of stuff. Otherwise, your console would explode.
Right. So it's like, well, I wonder how that would work with the cloud streaming. Does it still cut it in half while it's downloading? Is it? But I don't know. It'd definitely be something cool for that, like a new game. Maybe I didn't get to download it, and you guys, it's co-op. Let's play it. Okay, well, I'll jump on the xCloud version and play it until I get it down. Something like that. So we just jump in real quick and play. It's an awesome idea. I like it a lot.
Great,
and plus I can have the Xbox One X hooked up upstairs. We're going to use it as a 4K Blu-ray player anyway, so it's like, I can actually stream some games to it if I want to play upstairs without having to hook a hard drive up, re-download things, and everything like that. That's kind of convenient too. So But other than that, there wasn't a whole lot of newsworthy stuff. But Halo Infinite did get a release date. They announced the next night, December 8th. And I really hate how they're saying, the campaign and multiplayer will officially release on December 8th. And it's like, the game releases on December 8th. Yes, I understand that the Forge isn't there, co-op isn't there. It's still the game. Just say the game releases on December 8th.
Yeah.
You don't have to.
It's almost
like two separate.
They make it sound like it's releasing in 2 parts. Like part 1 of Halo Infinite is recently,
right.
almost like Final Fantasy.
Well, and I understand that the multiplayer is a free to play thing too, so you really don't have to have. You don't have to play. You don't have to buy the game to play the multiplayer, and maybe that's why they're wording it the way they are.
I'd say it's that, and they're also treating it more of like Halo Infinite is the platform, and so the campaign and multiplayer will be on the Halo Infinite platform at this time.
I guess.
I don't know. It's the weird thing of how do you message this? I don't know. Let's try this one and see what people think about it.
Why don't you just say the game releases on December 8th and then be done with it? I mean, it's like I don't understand. But anyway, that's just me nitpicking with the way they word something. They also announced a limited edition Halo Series X console, which looked super cool.
Yeah, the console and the Elite controller are really cool design.
That Elite controller.
It looks so cool.
Good luck getting any of that. Like,
I could have pre-ordered one of those controllers. They were available for pre-order for quite a while, and I hovered. I kept hovering, going, I already have an Elite controller. Do I really want a Halo themed one? And then try to explain it to my wife why I spent $200. No, I won't do it. But I was very tempted because, man,
it's very pretty. It was a nice design.
Yeah, it looked really cool. And I have a Halo controller for every Halo game they've released. I have the limited edition Halo original Xbox console that had the Halo matching see-through green Halo controller with the logo on it. I've got the Halo ODST controller. I have another, I've got all these Halo themed controllers that I never use because they're just so darn cool looking. But yeah, I couldn't bring myself to do it. But that console looked really cool. It sold out super quick. I don't think Amazon in the US ever put it up for pre-order yet, but I know everybody else did, and it sold out super fast.
Well, it's also like immediately, like already I started seeing people posting photos on Twitter of like it's already being sold on eBay for $1,000+.
I mean,
of course it is. So it's the regular version. So why wouldn't they be doing it with the special one?
I mean, everything.
I that one too. It was a gorgeous console. Like,
it really was. It was really cool looking. It's like, man, that's really sharp. I hadn't watched any of Keesley's presentation yet, so I guess there was an Elder Ring preview and more details. I
don't think this was part of his thing. This was a different thing where a lot of sites and YouTubers and things got to basically what would be kind of like a behind closed doors demo at an E3 or something like that, but just the digital version of that, because I watched a couple of videos about it, and it was pretty much they tuned in to a thing and they were shown 15 minutes of the game. Part of which is some of the stuff we've seen in like the trailer already, but just like the actual gameplay instead of like, trailer clips.
Yeah.
So most of it seems very, much like stuff we already kind of knew or had guessed about it, but it's pretty much the open world is no fog gates or anything in there. That's all in kind of like the dungeons that I forget. They had like a specific legacy dungeon, I think is what they're calling it, where that's more of like the tailored stuff that from previous From Software games. But also just from some of the descriptions of the mechanics, it seems like very much they're pulling from every single thing that they have made before this and putting it into this game, or an evolution of it. So some of the like stealth stuff from Sekiro is still in here, even though that's their most recent game. There's a lot of Dark Souls stuff in there. There's apparently even some like kind of Bloodborne flavor in some of it too, based on some of the stuff I was thinking. But yeah, I didn't want to pay too close attention to it because like I know I want to play that game already. It's fine. Everybody seemed to enjoy the preview and thought it looked good, so I was like, great. Hopefully the full game is great and it wasn't just a smoke and mirrors 15-minute preview.
Everybody's saying that will be the game everybody's going to buy this holiday season. Everybody seems to think it's going to crush it.
Well, Elden Ring's in January.
Yeah. And that's what I thought.
It starts January 2022 unless it gets delayed. So, if so, it will be the start of the deluge of games that are going to be coming out in 2022 because of all the ones that were already kind of going to be there, plus all the ones from this year that have been pushed back to 2022.
Right.
There's so many games, even just like the first few months already now.
Well, I mean,
ridiculous.
They announced the Saints Row reboot. It's coming out in February. Horizon Forbidden West was delayed until February. So there's 2 games right there in February, unless.
Then they announced the Marvel Midnight Sun game. That's March of 2022.
Marvel, yeah, that's in March, and that game looks awesome. Just the trailer.
The trailer was
trailer
really
was
cool.
Incredible. Yeah,
I want to see the gameplay next week when they show it on September 1st.
Yeah, I do too. I have high hopes because it's the XCOM people. The XCOM games are really cool. I love that comic book series. I still have that comic book art series of Midnight Sun. This doesn't look like it has anything to do with that series of it, but
I read something about it where they were inspired by about 3 or 4 different comic runs of stuff, but I don't think they're directly doing any of those stories necessarily.
Because the Midnight Suns was Johnny Cage and or not Johnny Cage. What was the first Ghost? Yeah, Johnny Cage. That was the first original Ghost Rider, right? Wasn't it Johnny Cage? Golly,
I don't know. I don't know enough about Ghost Rider. No idea.
Oh, Ghost Rider's my favorite, and I haven't
Johnny
invoked.
Cage?
No, not Johnny. Johnny Cage is Mortal Kombat. This one is Johnny Blaze. Johnny Blaze.
There we go.
There it goes.
All these stupid
He's
characters.
on fire. The other one's trapped.
Yeah. It just took.
They don't sound the same.
But it was him and the second generation Ghost Rider and Morbius, and there was a couple other people. Yeah, it was all these nightmare dark Marvel characters all getting together. So I'm fine with it. I like a good XCOM style Marvel game anyway.
I like the design of the characters in this. Look really cool, and then just the kind of uniforms that they're all wearing that are all kind of like the same, similar kind of like black and gold look to it. We're all really sharp.
Yeah, it looked really cool. The trailer
also Wolverine's in it, so sure.
And plus having a cover band play Enter Sandman with a woman singer, I was like,
that was so weird. It was like,
yeah.
It took me a second. I was like, wait a minute.
My buddy was
okay.
I said it to my buddy. I was like, "Did you see this?" He's like, "I'd rather have Metallica singing." And I'm like, "I've heard Metallica singing for 30 years. I'm ready for somebody else to sing."
Yeah. And also, I guarantee you, this way is cheaper. That's why you always get tons of these covers in video game and movie trailers, is because you can have someone cover it way cheaper than you can to license the original.
Well, and I think that's off there's a tribute album that came out this year, and the only reason I know this is because Amazon Music recommended it to me. It's like 20 different bands covering the entire Black Album with their own versions, their own covers of most of the songs. And there's I listened to the whole album, and I'm pretty sure that version was on that album too. So I could be wrong, but it's been a while.
Circling back to Saints Row for a little bit, that trailer was also really cool. And apparently there's also kind of a behind closed doors look that some people got to see at it.
That's what I saw.
But just looking even at the trailer, I'm like, yes, go back more towards Saints Row 3 than Saints Row 4. Because Saints Row 4 was like, okay, we're not even doing gangster stuff anymore. It's like, what is this game? And like, the third is like the perfect version of Saints Row. And I think there's some people who are like, this doesn't seem like Saints Row. I was like, do you not know what the term reboot means? Also, have you not played the Saints Row game? Everyone is different. Every single one is different. The first one was like, we want to be GTA so bad and we're trying way too hard. The second one is, all right, we're a fun GTA game. The third one is like, hey, GTA is cool, but we're like way more wacky than they are. And then the fourth one is a superhero game.
That one, and it was just like, we're going to do whatever we want. Whatever you feel like. You want to throw that in there, Jim? Yeah, you go ahead.
Yeah.
The only thing about this one,
Saints Row 2 personally. I like Saints Row 2. I spent a lot of hours.
2 is also good. I played 2 and 3 a lot, but 3 I think is my favorite just because I like the ridiculous that they put in that game. I don't see any dildo bats in this reboot.
No, that's what I was going to say.
One of my for those too. I was like,
but they also had the Japanese cooking show stuff that they threw in that game. They had the weird thing, a weird unlockables, like turning into a toilet as the main character. But I like going around the street just doing wrestling moves on random people because you could.
Yeah,
it's just sure, I'll powerbomb this random person on the street. Why not? Mayhem. That's Saints Row the Third. So I don't know. This could be fun. And like, also we've had plenty of the original Saints Row characters. Like they could probably show up in here as cameos if they really wanted to, but they don't even need to. Like, do some new characters. It's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. I mean, I'm fine with a
all they got to do is just have enough purple in there, and it's a Saints Row game.
Yeah, exactly. So they showed some of the new Call of Duty coming out. Of course, it goes back to World War II. Sledgehammer is doing this one.
Is this the part where I was like, because I was watching the video later on and not watching it live, I was like, all right, I don't care about the Call of Duty stuff.
I mean, I'm fine with them going back to World War II.
Cool. They're talking to Laura Bailey, and I forget who the other person was. Like, great, that's awesome. Yeah. They're great. The story's probably great, but it's like it's Call of Duty. I don't need to watch 5-10 minutes or whatever you're talking about this thing. It's like I'll read the summary on a site sometime.
The final preview of Deathloop was shown. That comes out September 14th.
That's so weird. Like that game they showed. That's a game they showed so many times at this point. They're just like, sure. Like, what are they going to show this time that came already?
Yeah, I know, right? At this point, I mean, we've seen it all, and it looks cool.
It's out very soon. Then we'll just play it.
Lego Star Wars Skywalker Saga, spring of 2022. That one has actually been pulled back. It was supposed to be
that was supposed to be released a while back.
Yeah,
right?
It was supposed to be this spring was when it was supposed to be released, and it got pushed back. So that's cool, though. I like the Lego Star Wars games.
Me too. I love the Lego games. Yeah.
The Death Stranding director's cut, they showed that racing. It's like, that's oddly, I kind of want to play that. It's like
it's goofy. It's
like
I've already had enough of Death Stranding. I don't need any more.
No,
sorry, please. You can never have enough of Death Stranding. Please.
Yes, you can.
No,
you can. Yeah, you can.
Come on. You want to go back into that world with Mads Mikkelsen, Norman Reedus, and then just
if I want that, I'll watch all the cutscenes. I won't play the game. I've had enough of that gameplay. I was like, okay, I get it. It was kind of fun for a while, but I was like, I've had enough. I'm done with it. So I just stopped, and I was fine.
I'm gonna mail you another copy of Death Stranding. That's
why did the director's cut show up on my front door?
Oh no! Now I've got to play it just because it's here. Okay.
Either that or be like, ooh, coaster.
Yeah. Metroid Dread trailer 2 was shown. October 8th is when that one launches.
Metroid Dread looking so good.
Yeah, I can't wait for that one.
Oh my god.
There's some cool extra little lore bits they're hinting at in the trailer. It's exciting.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that one. Giant Uprising. That thing.
I didn't see that one, so I don't know.
You didn't see that one? It was really,
because I was like skimming some of the stuff, so I didn't get a chance to look at it before the show.
The visuals was really cool. I only saw like clips online of it. Apparently it's going to be Steam early access in November. But man, the visuals on that game looked really cool. They did some Dying Light 2 gameplay. They did a little bit in showed a little bit in the Xbox thing the night before. That game looks cool.
Dying Light 2 is weird because it's always whenever it comes up, I was like, wait, that didn't come out yet?
No, it's been pushed back so many times.
Yeah.
Just trying to see here what else, anything else interesting.
Oh yeah, this Giants Uprising trailer looks very pretty.
The one thing I'm looking the most forward to that personally stole the show for me actually is not on the list for some reason that you posted.
Because IGN is slacking.
Yeah, the one that I'm looking forward to is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Shredder's Revenge. I'm looking forward to that one.
That one actually looked really good. I love that.
It looks cool as far as like art style and stuff, but it's just a game I won't play because it's just not the kind of games that I particularly enjoy myself. But it looks really nice.
I love them. Those are my favorite, and it's the guys that did the Streets of Rage.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Oh, then it should be pretty good.
So it should be really good. So I'm looking forward to that one. But what's the one you wanted? The Smash Bros. Like Nintendo or Nickelodeon game?
I don't want that.
No, it can't be that one because that is on this list.
Oh, it is on the list, isn't it? Okay, I just didn't roll down far enough and see it.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, because they're like squishing like everything from all 3 days into one long page. So there's all sorts of stuff.
Yeah. But anyway,
Solstice was on that list, and I'm looking forward to that. But that's still not what stole the show for me because we've heard of Solstice before.
Yeah.
What stole the show for me hands down, I still think about it, is there's a game called Dokev that they showed, or Dokev. And that game was the most beautiful thing I've seen in a long time. It's also just super photorealistic despite its art style. Like the environmental detail is incredible, absolutely incredible. And that this is like the first time to me so far I've seen like true, outside of like maybe like Forza, where I'm just like, oh my god, that's like a next gen. That's next gen right there. That's crazy. Like that's. It like just blew me away. I'm gonna be honest with you though, I didn't know what was happening. I couldn't tell you what the game is about, but all I know is everything looked incredible, and I need it in my veins. And it looks like my dream game. It looks like it has like some Pokemon elements to it, but in this vast, beautiful, gorgeous open world, and just the environmental detail, and the world is so alive. Like there's people and cars like all over this city, and just like, which we've seen before. But this looks different. I don't know. It just looks different.
It doesn't look as different to me necessarily. Like sort of like it's giving me the like the Yakuza vibe, but not in the way like it's like a Yakuza game, but in like here's a realistic environment with extremely unrealistic, like crazy like things going on in it.
Oh yeah, no, I mean it's not. Yeah, I mean I was just saying,
but it does look very pretty for sure.
Yeah, no, it just graphically speaking, it's gorgeous. Yeah, I mean obviously the art direction. I mean you can tell right away it's not. They're not going for, pores on the skin and everything. But
they should, because that would be even weirder. Like what if you zoom into the pores and there's a new city in the pores?
But, oh no. But the game looks absolutely astounding, and this is the game that I'm going to be. This was a world premiere for Gamescom. Also, no one had heard about it before, and I'm glad it didn't get leaked either, because I saw this, my jaw dropped, and I was like, "Yes,
it's very colorful. It looks nice,
very, 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 very." And like, I'm just it's the environment. It's the environment that did it for me. It's just the environment is gorgeous. I love those deep environments that feel so alive, and I think that's one of the many reasons that I love Yakuza so much, is just Kamurocho. There's nothing like it. There's nothing like Kamurocho. It's just incredible. So but yeah, that's my game of the show, honestly, was Dokev. So
yeah, I'll be honest, I watched the Xbox opening thing. I didn't get to see any of the other stuff. I was busy with work, and then by the time I got home that night, I was tired, and then we had company come over the next yesterday, so I didn't have a chance to watch any of it. So I'll have to go back and skim through.
Just look at some of the trailers or whatever.
Yeah, watch that trailer for Dokev. I'm telling you.
Yeah,
I'm telling you.
It looks like something that I would be interested in. So
I'm gonna make sure everything is cleared for that game and that game only when it comes.
See, what if they had a game that looked like that was actually a Pokemon game? Wouldn't that be insane?
That would
never
make
one because they'd have to put too much effort into it.
Yeah, exactly. I was gonna say, like, I think you could do that if they license it out, because every game that's been licensed out so far has looked really great. New Pokemon Snap would not have looked that way if Game Freak made it. Bandai Namco made that game, so But if it was Game Freak, it would have looked like, I don't know, Superman 64. So it's just.
Oh no! Oh no!
Wow!
Don't want to look like Superman 64, man. Oh.
No.
So
you don't want to look like anything 64, pretty much at this point.
You really don't.
Even the good-looking 64 games, you still admit, like, they're dated because of the technology. Don't look like that.
Yeah, exactly. And then, Nathaniel, you want to talk about this next story? Since you're the one that dropped, you're the one that dropped it in there, right?
Nope.
Was that Dennis? Dennis, did you drop that?
Oh, the one with the indie dev.
Yeah.
I clicked on it and read it, but I did not.
Okay, yeah, I just clicked and read it, but I didn't know which one of you dropped it in there. So
yeah, that was.
I mean, it's about a horror game thing, so of course it's going to be.
Yeah, I guess I should have put two and two together. I totally forgot. That was my bad. I wasn't thinking. Tired today.
But yeah, so basically, this story is about an indie dev that basically left the industry indefinitely at the moment. Maybe they'll be back, maybe they won't. Who knows? But at the time, there's no plans, and is because of the Steam refund policy. So I thought it'd be kind of an interesting sort of topic of conversation, which is why I put it in there. A couple of years back, Steam made a refund policy that was a lot more just pro-consumer and consumer friendly. That basically, so long as you play a game less than 2 hours and within 2 weeks of purchase, you can return it. And GOG implemented something similar, except for them, it's 30 days, no questions asked. And so apparently a lot of people were buying this game called Summer of 58. I believe, yes, Summer of 58, and by a developer called Amica Games. Now, I've actually played their games before. They have two other games on Steam. One of them being called Locked Up, and then the other one called Find Yourself, I think, also horror games. And they're fine. They're not bad. But this is one guy, and because the game is on the shorter side of things, even though despite a lot of very positive reviews on Steam, he actually was losing a lot of money because people were taking advantage of the 2-hour refund policy. They were buying the game, they were beating the game just because of the short nature of it, and then returning it. I think the normal price of the game is like maybe like $7-8.
I've got it pulled up here. It's normally $8.99 right now. It's 23% off at $6.92, and it looks like the average time to beat's about 90 minutes. Hour and
90 minutes. Okay, yeah, which sounds about right for something like that. So, but basically, and then the guy had tweeted like, that it, because it didn't reach 2 hours, despite it actually having good sales and it actually having a great reception, a lot of those purchases were being refunded strictly because people, they were done with it. They were just like, all right, let's take it back, and they were still within that time limit, so they could do that. Now, with my sort of experience with Steam refunds, you always have to give a reason. Like, there's a drop-down list with a reason, and I was led to believe there was always a team of people that just kind of looked through it, authorized it, and then would process the refund. Apparently not. Apparently not. So apparently
there's way too many to process to have
people.
I'm
sure it's just a computer that just goes. Oh,
they might spot check some of them, but they're not looking at every single one.
Yeah,
it might be if someone's like returning stuff all the time, then that flags something, so then they look at it. Would be my guess.
Sure. Because I've refunded some things in the past, and and I'm over here putting detailed responses, just but apparently it doesn't matter apparently. So you just
those, if they have to dig into something, they can pull all that data from somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Like if they have to look into it deeper, like, hey, why is like thousands of people returning this game? Oh, they're all saying that it made their computers explode. Okay.
Yeah. Right.
I don't know. I wonder, me and Nathaniel kind of talked about this before you got here, Dennis, while we were waiting.
Sure.
I wonder if, yes, there was a lot of returns on this game, but I wonder if this, him putting out, or him or her, whoever it is, the company putting out a tweet like this that says, we're leaving gaming to like, I wonder if a lot of people rush over to Steam, look at the game, buy it, I'm going to support these guys, I'm not going to do a refund, because we don't want to see a dev leave I wonder if this boosted sales any.
That went through my mind also. That went exactly through my mind, that thought.
The thing about this is it's like, you can't make a return policy super duper complicated, because then it just won't work.
Yeah.
So there's always going to be something like this that it's not the best for, a dev that's this small making short games. It's just, you can't do anything about it with the amount of stuff that goes on Steam. Something like this is going to happen. But I don't think that you can have Steam do something extra complicated either to change it, because then that'll run into issues and you'll have something on some other side that'll be a problem somewhere. So you can never please everybody. Yeah. The thing about this that gets me is like, okay, I get it. It sucks that people are returning your game. Why are you leaving development and complaining about it if not to get attention? Why aren't you just trying to sell it on the other platforms? There are so many platforms, even for indie games like itch.io and some other places like that, where people have had pretty good success outside of Steam, especially if it's not like this is a new return policy. It's been on Steam for a long time. At this point, know it's there, and you know that it's a risk. So, I don't know. It seems, at least to some percentage of, oh, woe is me, look at me, pay attention to me kind of a thing, which, it's understandable. I'm not saying it's a bad thing that they shouldn't have done it. I'm just saying there's definitely an element of that to it here. And it's one of those situations that just kind of sucks all the way around from whichever way you look at it. There's not really any good, easy answer to it.
Well, and I'm looking through the past 30-day reviews. The top rated, most helpful review is from the 27th, which was yesterday. 678 people found that review helpful. The review right below it is a one from the 26th, and over 1,000 people found that review helpful. So it's like,
now here's the question: if you read the review, John, does it say play this game and then return it? You'll get your money back.
No, no.
Because I can definitely say that is something I have seen on Steam reviews.
No. I mean, this first one was, I mean, the most helpful one literally says the refund exploitation really sucks, but the bright side is I wouldn't have found this game if this situation hadn't have happened.
True.
You know, I mean, and you know, and that was what I was just saying. You know, it's like, well, yeah, and this game was great. All the people who played this game and returned it, you're the scum of the planet. You know, but I mean, know, but there's eyes getting on this. You know, now whether or not
it's silver lining,
weird things of like Phoenix from the ashes type situation.
Yeah.
You know,
but then if we twist it around again, it's like, okay, well, how many exact situations like this exist that we don't know about because they don't say anything about it and they just disappear and go away? So like with the thousands and thousands of games that get released on Steam all the time, surely this is not the first time this has ever happened.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, it's like, so you could twist it, you know, you could play ifs and buts all you want. It's like, you know, how many...
That's my favorite game, John.
Yeah, I know, right? But, you know, it's like, well, did they do this deliberately to get, you know, the old saying is any PR is good PR, you know, whether it's bad or good, it gets eyes on a situation. And, you know, is this one of those things? Is it really something that, oh, well, I'm stepping away because it just aggravates me? Or is it, well, I'm stepping away because it aggravates me? But you're really not. You're just putting that out there to get eyes on a situation.
The other one, honestly, they could have just said a thing and then it's blown up more than they ever thought it would, or they could have done it on purpose trying to get this result. Either way, I don't know that it's a bad thing. It's just
I don't know. Yeah, and I don't know how Steam...
we'll never know. We don't get into those people's brains. We don't know why they said this. We just know this is, you know, kind of the situation.
And I don't know how Steam would fix it, you know, because it's like we said.
Yeah, I don't know either.
I mean, you can't just say, well, if a game's, you know, takes less than 2 hours to beat, you know, you can't return. You can't do that. It's either you can return them all or you can't return any.
If that was the case, honestly, I feel like then there would probably be a new policy where it's like, hey, if your game's less than 2 hours, you have to sell it. You can't sell it like for like a price. You have to. It's free immediately.
Yeah, I mean, how do you do? You know,
that's such a weird argument, and then everybody would be like, well, I don't want to do that at all. No, that's terrible.
You know, so you leave it like it is, and you know,
and you can't change your policy to be like complete 5% or less, because what is 5% of a game? Yeah. It's even though it seems mathematical, it doesn't really line up.
Yeah,
you know, IRL, and how do you even measure that? You know, it's like different games or different things as far as like what that percentage would mean and how many achievements have you unlocked. Who knows? Who cares?
I mean,
there's just no good way to kind of adjust it, I think, to be like, okay, here, we fix this situation without breaking 3 others.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, so who knows? But
maybe someone smarter than us can figure it out.
Yeah,
but
maybe.
I certainly can't.
I'm sure there's a team of lawyers somewhere that are working on it right now.
Sure. Yeah.
Anyway, I put this last story in here because it actually came up on Twitter while we were talking. The new PS5 model that was a revision that was lighter, you know, that was the big thing that just kind of quietly came out. A YouTuber actually got a hold of one of the digital editions from Japan and broke it down to see what the difference was. And it was actually the heatsink is smaller.
Oh wow, that is a lot smaller.
Yeah, and it uses less copper and aluminum. The heat fins present on the new heatsink. Yeah, there's pictures on there. It is a lot smaller, and apparently, just with the heat test that they did, it runs about 8 or 9 degrees hotter than the original release does. So,
that's F.
Oh yeah,
Fahrenheit, just for anyone listening to be like, because they listed both in the article.
Yeah, so yeah, 3 to 5 Celsius, 8 to 9 Fahrenheit for all you with the space.
I'm used to seeing C because most of the times when I'm looking at, whenever they're measuring CPU temps and stuff or PC things or whatever, they usually list it in C, even if they're from like a site from the US or something.
Yeah. So that seems to be why it weighs a little less. That seems to be the.
So I'm gonna guess that it's going to be, if you have one of those, it'll feel just as hot on the outside from the heat coming out, but a lot of that heat will still be on the inside, and that's bad.
Yeah, that's what I'm afraid of, and that's one of the other things they point out in here. If you put a SSD in it, how much more heat does that create too?
Oh, yeah.
So it's like.
I don't know. It'll depend, probably, because if you're not actively using it, it's not going to create any heat. But if you are actively using it, that means you're playing a game. So it would be either the onboard or your extra SSD is what's doing the heat.
Exactly. So
I don't know that it would change it that much, just unless you just happen to buy an SSD that's super hot or something.
It just seems odd that they would change that so early in the run.
Well, I get that you want to change it and do stuff, but if it from the outside it looks the same, what's the point? Like, who cares? It's not like it's a mobile system where, okay, we're shaving some stuff so it's easier to hold now or whatever. It's something that sits there and you play it on your TV. So if you've shaved, like a little bit of weight off of it, but made it where it's not going to last as long because it burns itself up. That's not a good change.
That's not a good change
either. And the stuff they're changing, it's not like the heat sink is probably a bit of save from that, but like the fan difference is not going to be any really. That's negligible because it's just a different fan.
Well, yeah, and it can't be saving that much money. It can't be. I mean,
well, like the heatsink would, because that's like a significant chunk of metal that they're saving out of each, machine. So on like the bulk side, it would add up, but not to the point that like, oh, if this causes consoles to fail, that we have to replace, or whatever, because they're still under warranty, that kind of thing. Yeah, like it might not save them stuff in the long run. Who knows?
I guess we'll see. I don't like it when I hear that things run hotter because they changed something in it, because these things run hot enough as it is. Series X and PS5, they both run hot. I mean, the jokes of the Series X being a chimney. I mean, it's funny, but
that's where all the heat comes out.
It is warm like a chimney. I can warm my hands on it.
The PS5 is a chimney that has stuff coming out 3 sides.
Yeah, it comes out all over. It comes out the whole side of it. Yeah, you're right. I mean, and
whenever I go over next to it to like eject a disc or just do anything over where I have mine sitting, like, and it's been playing a game on it, you can tell, like, yep, you've been spouting quite a bit of warm air out. It's
I mean, when I go lean over top of the Series X to do something behind the thing, and if it's been downloading a thing in rest mode or I've been playing a game, I can feel that heat coming up in my face. I can feel
it. Start warming your hands over it.
And like the expanded memory, the memory card, I've pulled it out of the back, like I've been done playing with it in a hotel room or something like that. Go to pack it up, and usually what I do in the hotel room is 10 minutes before I'm ready to go to bed, if I'm done playing, I unhook it or let it cool down till the fan stops, unhook it, then I go set it in front of the air conditioner to let the heat cool down, because I'm going to put it in a box, and I'm going to close it up.
You don't want to grab that memory card out of the back immediately.
It is hot.
Any memory of that type is going to be very hot.
It is extremely hot. I pulled it out as soon as I shut the system off and then touched the metal, and it is.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
It is. It's not burn my hand, leave a mark. But it is, ow, that's hot. It burns. If I held it for 5 minutes, it might. But, I mean, it's really hot.
It's hot enough that it could burn your hand. Not to, like, super severe, probably. But if you, like, just held onto it, it could. But,
it's like...
It's hot enough you don't want to keep holding it.
No, you don't.
And that's just... I've never had one of those, but I just know from that type of thing that, like, those things get hot.
It really gets hot. It really gets hot quick, and it stays hot. It's so weird. But, I'm that anal with the heat dissipation of that thing before I throw it in my big expensive foam-filled case to keep it. It's like, nope, let me set it next to the air conditioner.
Yeah.
It's running while
You
I
want
go
it to
brush
be
my teeth and take my pills.
Yeah. You want it to be room temperature before you put it into any sealed
Yeah.
storage, because otherwise that heat will just build up and stay in there.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, yep, let me let that cool down a little quicker while I'm getting ready to go to bed. You know, it's like, holy fright. But yeah, I mean,
here you go, Xbox, chill. Just
Yeah.
sit on that air conditioner, have fun.
yeah, it's like, but I can't imagine, building a machine like that and then deliberately making things smaller that make it, and maybe not much extra heat is negligible, but I don't know.
It's not that negligible. I mean,
I
it's
wouldn't-
not terrible from like the degree changes, but it is significant.
Yeah,
If it was like, 0.3 degrees difference or something, but,
Right,
like that's not
yeah.
any different.
yeah. I don't know,
But it's
like,
enough that, like, yes, that could, do stuff over time.
if you end up
It'll be-
getting one of those newer model PlayStations, be aware. And don't buy any of them stupid fans that they say it makes it better, because it doesn't. So those things are hokum.
Oh man, that reminds me. There was some like article I saw of some joke fan that like a fan company that makes PC component parts made, where it's like it looks like an internal fan for a computer, but it was like floor fan size, so it was like this huge. I was like, I wish it was a real product. I would totally buy that as just like a fan for my
yeah.
house.
My wife would buy one. She constantly wants a fan. She wants one of those big fans you see at the fair blowing in the
Oh,
barns
goodness.
to keep the
Yeah.
animals on. She goes, let's just get one of those and put them on the other side of the house. No.
Because everything will blow off the tables.
But I'm hot. I'm hot. Go to the fair.
Get an
and
ice
stand in front of
cube or
one.
something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, anything. But yeah, so. But that's all
don't
we
even-
got.
Yeah, we don't need no tornadoes in here.
No, Lord, no. But that's all we have for this week, so we'll call that a show. We should be back in 2 weeks. That'd put us somewhere around the 11th. I'll be on, that'll be in the middle of my vacation, or will it be? No, yeah, that'll be at the end of my vacation, so, yeah, so that'll be the holiday. Labor Day's so late this year. So it should be this weekend, not next weekend, but whatever.
Well, because it's always whatever the first Monday is. So if it's
I
the
know.
6th is the first Monday, then yeah, it feels late.
I don't like it.
In quotes.
I don't like it late. I like it early. That means fall's coming and the hot weather is going to go away in October.
That doesn't mean that. Not around here. Maybe for you a little bit more, but for us, it's like we're not going to get the fall weather until like November or something.
Yeah, you guys don't get it until
even
November. Yeah, sometimes not even then.
Sometimes not even then.
I remember leaves still falling out trees in December down there. So yeah, I know.
Yeah, and if it's the wrong year, then it'll be like Christmas time, and it'll be like 70s out.
Yep.
No, this is not Christmas weather. Stop it! I don't live in LA.
I don't like that. I don't miss that. So, but yeah. So, like I always say, follow us on Twitter at @GL_podcast. If you want to join us live, you'll know the times we go live. But if not, if you're just a regular listener, you'll get it on your podcatcher the next day after we record. Anybody got anything else before we say sayonara? Anything?
Nope.
Nope.
Really, no.
All right. Well, I'm going to go so we can play some games. It's early. We don't have to have somebody out on the West Coast to record late. So, not that that's a bad thing, Eric. I don't want Eric to think we're ragging on him. We're just
No, it's just if he's like off on a trip or wherever, can't be here, we take advantage of it.
Yeah, we take advantage of it and do it early. So
Very polite.
that. Yeah, very politely. Exactly. So, all right, guys. Well, thanks a lot for hanging out with us and listening, and we'll catch you next time.